السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته يا شيخنا.
عبد الرحمن، كيف الحال؟
الحمد لله يا شيخنا.
نبدأ بالدرس.
نعم يا شيخنا.
طيب، إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. ما بعد. Our readings have been from the book Siyar A'alām An-Nubala by Al-Hafiz Shamsuddin Adh-Dhahabi rahimahullah, Abu Abdullah. And from that book, Siyar A'alām An-Nubala, we have been busy with Seerah A'ishah radiyallahu anha. We have been busy with the Seerah of our mother, Āishah radiyallahu anha, Siddiqatu bintu Siddiq, the Habiba of Rasul alayhi salatu wassalam. We have read through the various stages in her life, radiyallahu anha. We have read through various aspects of her life, her childhood, her marriage to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam before Hijrah, and then the consummation of the marriage after Hijrah, and the various phases that marriage went through, the blessed marriage with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We have read through her relationship with her husband alayhi salatu wasalam, and her dealings with the rest of the women at home, and the trials that marriage went through. The marriage of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam with Āishah, Allah brought trial to it. For me, I've always ever emphasized that is an indication that every marriage, no matter how smooth and sweet, Allah will bring trials to it. Every marriage, no matter how sweet and smooth, it will have its own trial by which Allah will try it. Perhaps both the man and the woman will stand firm, because from the basic things in our religion is what Allah told us in the Quran. حَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. Will the people think, just say, we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ, and then Allah will not bring them, try their claims of Iman. And the major means of trial for any one of us, male or female, are those trials regarding our marriages. We have read about the major trials in the marriage in the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam and Āishah, and how the both of them handled those trials. Sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam wa radiyallahu anha. We have also read through very many other things regarding Āishah, the issues of how knowledgeable she was, how she learned the science of healing or medicine, and all the rest of that. The last class we read from page 189 to 191. If you are on the print of Mu'assasatul Risala, the print of Mu'assasatul Risala that has the forward, the taqdeem of Dr. Bashar Awad Ma'ruf, that will be on volume 2 from page 135. But the last class we read from page 189 to page 191. And the later parts of page 190, Abdullah ibn Safwan, rahimahullah, one of the Tabi'un, he said, Ata Āishah radiyallahu anha. He came to Āishah radiyallahu anha. فقالت, and then Āishah, our mother, said to him, Liya khilalun tis'un. I have li khilalun tis'un. I have 9 traits. I have 9 attributes. Lam takun li ahadin. It was not for anyone. Illa ma atallahu Maryam alayha salam. Except what Allah gave to Maryam. I have some traits. Those traits, no human being has it all combined in him or in her. And those traits are so noble. Illa ma atallahu Maryam alayha salam. Except there are other traits too that Allah gave to Maryam that he did not give to anyone. For example, Allah gave Maryam Isa alayhi salatu wassalam without the intervention of a husband. وَهَذَا مِمَّا آتَى اللَّهُ مَرْيَمَ عَلَيْهَا السَّلَامُ. This is special to no any other human being has that one. That a woman can give birth to a child without a husband. So she said, radiyallahu anha, li khilalun tis'un. I have 9 attributes. Lam takun li ahadin illa ma atallahu Maryam alayha salam. Nobody has those traits combined in him or in her, except those other traits that Allah gave to Maryam alayha salam that he did not give to any other woman. And one of them was that Maryam had a child without a male intervention. Our mother Āishah continued. We are reading from the last line on page 190. She said, radiyallahu anha, wallahi, I swear by Allah, ma aqulu hadha fakhra. I am not saying what I am saying out of arrogance, out of show off, because I want to show off or arrogate anything to myself. Allah sawahibati. I'm not trying to prove superior. It is not out of any sense of superiority over the rest of my wives, my co-wives. I'm just saying something that Allah has favored me with, and He has not favored anybody with, all of them combined in one single person. I am the only one who has it. فقال صفوان فقال ابن صفوان Abdullah ibn Safwan now asks Āishah radiyallahu anha, وَمَا هُنَّ. What are those features? What are those traits? What are those 9 attributes you talked about? فقالت radiyallahu anha. Our mother Āishah radiyallahu anha said, جاء الملك بصورته إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. The angel came with an image of me to the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. So he married me. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam never saw any of his wife in a dream before he married her except Āishah. So that's a favor for Āishah. The favor for Āishah that Allah made the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam to see her in a dream. We had read about that. She was brought in a dream covered in silk cloth. And when he opened the face, he saw in the dream that it was Āishah radiyallahu anha. This happened in about 3 different nights. The Prophet continued to see Āishah in his dream before he married her radiyallahu anha. She also said, وَتَزَوَّجَنِي بِكْرًا. Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam also married me as a young virgin girl. Yes, the Prophet had other wives, but there was none amongst his wives that he married as a young virgin girl who had never married before. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did not marry any young virgin girl who had never married before, except who? Āishah radiyallahu anha. We are now reading from page 191. He said, radiyallahu anha, وَكَانَ يَأْتِيهِ الْوَحْيُ. Revelation would come to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وَأَنَا وَهُوَ فِي لِحَافٍ. While that revelation came, Ana wa huwa fi lihafin, my father and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam under a single cloth. The lihaf is like a huge bed sheet that a man can sleep under and also have his wife covered under it. It is called what? Lihaf. It is also called what? Jilbab. It is also called what? Milhafa. So that lihaf, I will be under it. The Prophet will be under it, alayhi salatu salam. And then revelation would come. This never happened to any woman except me, whether from the wives of the Prophet alayhi salatu salam or others. Radiyallahu anha. She continued and said, وَكُنْتُ مِنْ أَحَبِّ النَّاسِ إِلَيْهِ. And I was from the most beloved of the people to the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. وَنَزَلَ فِيَّ آيَاتٌ. Some verses of the Quran also came down about me. كَادَتْ الْأُمَّةُ تَهْلِكُ فِيهَا. Those verses came down. كَادَتْ الْأُمَّةُ تَهْلِكُ فِيهَا. The entirety of the Ummah almost ran into a destruction regarding those verses. The verses came down. Regarding the message that those verses came, everybody was terrified because the verses kept on blaming the people. Why did you not say that the accusations against Āishah were false? All of you should have been saying that it's a lie. It's a lie. Radiyallahu anha. وَرَأَيْتُ جِبْرِيلَ. Āishah said, radiyallahu anha, I saw Jibreel. وَلَمْ يَرَهُ أَحَدٌ مِّن نِسَائِهِ غَيْرِي. No one of the wives of the Prophet saw Jibreel apart from me. I saw Jibreel. She said, radiyallahu anha, وَلَمْ يَرَهُ أَحَدٌ مِّن نِسَائِهِ غَيْرِي. And no one amongst the wives of the Prophet saw Jibreel apart from me. But we knew other companions also saw Jibreel, as we have in that hadith of Jibreel, that first hadith of Al-Arba'un that occurs in Kitab al-Iman in Sahih Muslim. Hadith that Abdullah ibn Umar reported from his father Umar. It is popularly called Hadith Jibreel. We remember that at the end of that hadith, the Prophet asked the companion Umar, radiyallahu anhu, 2 or 3 days after, Atadri man as-sa'id, do you know who the questioning person was? Jibreel came. He was asking questions. Akhbirni anil Islam, akhbirni anil Iman, akhbirni anil Ihsan, and so on. So the people were in the masjid, they saw him. It was Jibreel, but they did not know that it was Jibreel until he had left. So that was also a scene of Jibreel. Jibreel came on that instance in the image of a human being. For Āishah is saying here, radiyallahu anha, as far as the wives of the prophets were concerned, no one saw Jibreel except me. Radiyallahu anha. She said, وَلَمْ يَرَهُ أَحَدٌ مِنْ نِسَائِهِ غَيْرِي. No one saw him min nisa'ihi, amongst the wives of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, apart from me. She also said, radiyallahu anha, وَقُبِضَ فِي بَيْتِي. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his life was taken away in bayti, while I was right inside my house. وَقُبِضَ فِي بَيْتِي. The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, his life was taken in bayti, while I was right inside my house. He said, from the things that Allah has favored her with was that lam yali ahadun ghayrul malaki illa ana. When the Prophet was being taken away, lam yali, nothing followed him. Lam yali ahadun, yani nothing was with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasallam, ghayrul malak, apart from the angel of death who came to take his life. Illa an, except me. Don't forget, he allowed the Prophet to rest on her chest. And even she told us how she felt that the Prophet had already become heavy while he was still resting on her chest. Radiyallahu anha. This hadith, Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi said, Sahhahahu al-Hakim. Al-Imām al-Hakim al-Naysaburi has reported it in his Mustadrak Hakim. After the last class last week, someone asked me about this hadith. That how come we say that Āishah saw the Prophet, saw Jibreel alayhi salam? I said that's not strange. Even the companions saw Jibreel when Jibreel came to greet them, asking the Prophet a lot of questions in the masjid. And the Prophet told them alayhi salatu wasalam that man was Jibreel. Jibreel comes to the Prophet in various forms, usually in the form of a human being. But in his actual form, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam only saw Jibreel how many times? Twice. First time in Makkah at the beginning of the message. Second time in the heavens at Sidratul Muntaha. Allah mentioned it in the Quran. It says, وَلَقَدْ رَآهُ نَزْلَةً أُخْرَى. He saw him at the second time. Where? In the Sidratul Muntaha, indaha Jannatul Ma'wa. So at Sidratul Muntaha, the Prophet saw Jibreel alayhi salam again in his actual form that Allah created Jibreel. The first one was at the beginning of the message. The second was at Sidratul Muntaha. So as for Jibreel in other forms, yes, he comes in the form of human beings to the Prophet, a human being to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And Āishah on one of those occasions saw Jibreel, just like the companions too radiyallahu anhum in the masjid. On one of those occasions they saw Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam. So this hadith occurs in Mustadrak of Al-Imam Abi Abdullah Al-Hakim Al-Naysaburi, or Sahahu, he grades it Sahih. And as Shaykh Shu'aib Al-Arnaud said, وَوَافَقَهُ Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi. Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi also affirms that the hadith is Sahih, and so on. The next thing on that page 199, Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi said, Al-Awwam ibn Hawshab. Al-Awwam ibn Hawshab was Abu Isa. He said, and Sa'id ibn Jubayr, and Abdullah ibn Abbas. He reported from Sa'id ibn Jubayr, from Abdullah ibn Abbas, that in الَّذِينَ يَرْمُونَ الْمُحْصَنَاتِ, those portions in Surah An-Nur, I think around verse 22, Ibn Abbas said, نَزَلَتْ فِي عَائِشَةَ خَافَةً. نَزَلَتْ فِي عَائِشَةَ خَاصَةً. These verses came down regarding who? Āishah specifically. These verses came down specifically regarding Āishah. That's a thing of honor for Āishah. It's a thing of honor for a Muslim that he has a verse of the Quran sent down regarding him or sent down regarding her. And these verses will be read forever and ever. There are many other companions that have cases like that, like Zayd ibn al-Haritha, and who? And Zaynab into Jahsh. Allah specifically mentioned the name of Zayd. فَلَمَّا قَضَى زَيْدٌ مِنْهَا وَطْرًا زَوَّجْنَاكَ. Here refers to Zaynab into Jahsh. The thing of honor for them. The other companions too, like Zayd ibn Arqam in Surah Al-Munafiqeen, when the Munafiqun were saying that لَإِنْ رَجَعْنَا إِلَى الْمَدِينَةِ, when they get to Medina, they are going to expel the companions and those. Zayd ibn Arqam heard them saying it, and then he came to report them to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. But the Munafiqun told a lie. He denied it. They said he never said it. Oh, messenger, we didn't say it. So the Prophet kept quiet. And then Allah revealed it as a verse that هم الذين يقولون لئن رجعنا إلى مدينة هم الذين يقولون لا تنفقوا على من عند رسول الله حتى ينفضوا ولله خزائن السماوات والأرض ولكن المنافقين لا يفقهون يقولون لئن رجعنا. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam called for Zayd ibn Arqam that Allah has affirmed what you said. Zayd was very happy ibn Arqam radiallahu anhu. So there are companions that specific verses came down regarding them and as a thing of honor for them. The same thing for our mother Āishah. She was accused of evil and Allah sent down verses to reject those false accusations and announce her freedom from that evil accusation. That's a thing of honor and respect for her, radiyallahu anha. In the next paragraph, Imām Adh-Dhahabi said, Ali ibn Āsim, وَفِيهِ لِي. He is reporting from Ali ibn Āsim. He said, وَفِيهِ لِي. Ali ibn Āsim has some weakness in his reports. So Ali ibn Āsim, who has some weakness in his reports, he said, حدثنا خالد الحذاء عن ابن السيرين عن الأحنف. Al-Ahnaf, that is Al-Ahnaf ibn Qais. Al-Ahnaf ibn Qais was from amongst the Tabi'un, rahimahullah. Al-Ahnaf ibn Qais, he was very popular as Al-Ahnaf. Al-Ahnaf refers to the person who has what we now call K-leg. Al-Ahnaf. If the person is K-legged, what do we call him? Ahnaf. So he used to be called Al-Ahnaf. And by that, he became very popular. Otherwise, his name was what? Ad-Dhahak. His name was what? Ad-Dhahak ibn Qais. So he became popular as what? Al-Ahnaf ibn Qais. Al-Ahnaf means what? A person who has a K-leg. That is Al-Ahnaf. He said that this was allowed among the scholars of Hadith. They do it with ta'arif. For the person to be known, it is not as a result of al-bagyu or backbiting, al-ghiba or something. It was not a way of aggressing or speaking by backbiting. No, it's a way of just describing him, that sheikh who has a K-leg. There are many scholars like that, like Āsim al-Ahwal. Al-Ahwal is a person who has, you know, when the two black eyeballs look as if they are looking at themselves. That is Al-Ahwal. We had also Al-Imam Sulaiman ibn Mihran Al-A'mash. Al-A'mash is the one who has a bad eye, as if some fluids are dropping from the eyes. So many scholars were like that. There was also Al-A'raj, the one who has a twisted leg. The shin bone is twisted. There are many of them. They were mentioned for all of these things, not because they want to insult or abuse them, but by that they will be known. So Al-Ahnaf refers to a person who has what we call a K-leg. Rahimahullah. He said, سَمِيتُ خُطْبَةَ أَبِي بَكْرٍ وَعُمَرَ وَعُثْمَانَ وَعَلِيًّا. سَمِيتُ خُطْبَةَ أَبِي بَكْرٍ وَعُمَرَ وَعُثْمَانَ وَعَلِيٍّ. I heard the khutbah of Abu Bakr. I've heard Abu Bakr delivered a khutbah. Wa Umar, I had heard Umar delivering khutbah. Wa Uthmana, I had heard the khutbahs, the sermons, the admonitions of all these people. Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and what? Ali. I heard all of them delivering khutbah. Wal khulafa ba'dihim. I have also heard other khulafa after these people. After Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali, there was Hassan ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. There was Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, radiyallahu anhum. There was the son of Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, who became the Khalifa, and so on and so forth. Al-Ahnaf ibn Qais said, I've heard all these people delivering khutbah. He said, فَمَا سَمِعْتُ الْكَلَامَ مِنْ فَمِ مَخْلُوقٍ أَفْخَمَ وَأَحْسَنَ مِنْهُ مِنْ أَيْ عَائِشَةٍ. مَا سَمِعْتُ الْكَلَامَ. I have not heard speech. I have not heard a sermon. I have not heard a delivery. Min fami makhlukin, from the mouth of any created being. Afkhama wa ahsana. Afkhama aqwa wa a'zama wa ahsana. I have not heard it. Somebody making powerful statements, full of honor, full of respect. A speech that is beautiful. Wala ahsan, and nice. Minhu min A'ishah. That from his mouth, like the one that I heard A'ishah speak. Whenever A'ishah had to speak to the companions of the Allah, maybe they came to ask her about a matter in her house. Oh, our mother, what do you say about so and so? When she speaks of the Allah Anha, she said, he said, ما سمعت الكلام من فم مخلوق أفخم ولا أحسن منه من طلحة ibn one of them was Musa ibn Talha. So here on page 191, Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi rahimahullah reports from Musa ibn Talha. So he said, وقال موسى ابن طلحة ما رأيت أحدا أفصح من عائشة. Musa ibn Talha, Musa the son of Talha ibn Ubaydillah, he said, ما رأيت أحدا من عائشة. I never saw anyone more eloquent than A'ishah radiyallahu anha. Musa ibn Talha, who is saying this, he was from the students of Uthman bin Affan for 12 years. Musa ibn Talha ibn Ubaydillah was in the company of Uthman ibn Affan for 12 years. He was always with Ali ibn Abi Talib. He was always with Abu Dharr al-Ghifari. He also attended the lessons of A'ishah. Whenever A'ishah had to say something, everybody went there. Whenever they had a trouble, they went to ask her. So if she spoke on any of these circumstances, radiyallahu anha, he said, مَا رَأَيْتُ أَفْصَحَ مِنْ A'ishah. I never saw anyone more eloquent than who? Than A'ishah, radiyallahu anha. Down Al-Imām Adh-Dhahabi said, وَفِي الْمُسْتَدْرَكِ لِإِسْنَادٍ صَالِحٍ. It also occurs in the Mustadrak of Al-Imām Isnadin Salih with a good chain of report. And Salama, from Salama radiyallahu anha, annaha, that Salama radiyallahu anha, lama sami'at as-sarhata ala A'ishah. When she heard some people were mourning, when she heard the announcement, A'ishah hearing the symbol that A'ishah has died, radiyallahu anha, or Salama, لقد كانت أحب الناس إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إلا أبا. لقد كانت أحب الناس إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إلا أباها. I swear by Allah, Āishah, قد كانت أحب الناس إلى رسول الله. She had always ever been the most beloved of the people to the Messenger of Allah, Illa Abba, except for her father. Nobody surpassed her in the love, in the mind of the Prophet amongst the humans. The Prophet loved Aisha so much. The only person in front of her in that was who? Her father. Who was that? Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. This narration also occurs in the Mustadrak of Al-Imam Hakim An-Nisaburi. We can move to page 192. Al-Imam Adh-Dhahabi said, Qala Ibn Sa'd. Ibn Sa'd said, that is Al-Imam Muhammad Ibn Sa'd, rahimahullah. He has a book titled At-Tabaqat, very good book. It captures the narrations from the beginning of the message of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, like a book of the biography of the Prophet and some tabi'un and those who came after. He dropped the people according to their tabaqat, picked from the tabaqat of the Sahaba, and then those who came after them, and so on and so forth. Ibn Sa'ad said in At-Tabaqat, Akhbarana Muhammad ibn Umar, that is Muhammad ibn Umar ibn Waqid al-Waqidi. Muhammad ibn Umar ibn Waqidi. We are page 192. We are reading from page 192. Ibn Sa'ad said, Muhammad ibn Umar, حدثني ابن أبي سبرة. Ibn Abi Sabra was Abu Bakr ibn Abdullah ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Sabra and Uthman ibn Abi Atiq and Abihi Qala. So Ibn Abi Atiq reported from his father Abu Atiq, who said, رَأَيْتُ لَيْلَةَ مَاتَتْ عَائِشَةُ. I saw on the night that Aisha passed away, I saw something. What was that? حُمِلَ مَعَهَا جَرِيدُ بِالْخِرْكِ وَالزَّيْتِ وَأُوقَدْ. Some things were carried along with the corpse of Aisha, like the mat, the material you remove from the tree of a date palm. If you cut off the leaf, you remove some materials, the mat is woven. That is the jarid. So this jarid was brought with some pieces of clothes, materials, and some fire was placed on it, and that was because Aisha was buried in the night. Radiallahu anha. وَرَأَيْتُ نِسَاءَ بِالْبَقِيعِ. This man said another thing he saw was that I saw a lot of women at Al-Baqi'. That Baqi' we always visit in Medina. That was where Aisha was buried. Radiallahu anha. He said, وَرَأَيْتُ نِسَاءَ بِالْبَقِيعِ كَأَنَّهُ عِيدٌ. رَأَيْتُ النِّسَاءَ بِالْبَقِيعِ كَأَنَّهُ Eid. I saw many women at Al-Baqi as if it was a day of Eid, when women also come out fully and gather at the praying ground. But this report is a weak report because Muhammad ibn Umar al-Waqidi is a weak reporter of hadith. Likewise, Ibn Abi Sabra is also a weak reporter of hadith. So this report is very weak. That on the day that Aisha was buried, these things, some mats and some oils with some cotton materials were lit in fire. And this report, particularly like this week, the incidents might have happened if we find it with another authentic chain. Inshallah, we shall affirm it. The report after that says, Qala Muhammad ibn Umar. Don't forget, this Muhammad ibn Umar is a weak reporter of hadith. His reports are rejected. He is called Al-Waqidi. In fact, some scholars say that he tells lies about reports. Muhammad ibn Umar ibn Waqid al-Waqidi. He is the one who also speaks here. He said, Haddathana ibn Jurayj. And Nafi ibn Jurayj reports from Nafi. But we said that the person telling us this report is a weak reporter. So we don't rely on reports like this. It said that Nafi, the slave of Abdullah ibn Umar, said that Shahidtu Aba Hurairah salla ala Āishah bil Baki. I witnessed Abu Hurairah salla ala Āishah bil Baki, observing the Salatul Janaza on Āishah at Al-Baqiyah. But this is correct. It is correct that the person who observed this funeral prayer over Āishah was who? Abu Hurairah. Please, let's note this point. It is correct that the person who observed the Salatul Janaza on Āishah was Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu. وكان خليفة وكان خليفة مروان Abu Hurairah ala al-Madinah. At that time, Abu Hurairah was the head of the people of Medina. وكان خليفة مروان ala al-Madinah. Abu Hurairah was made to be the head, the ruler of Medina at that time. وقد اعتمر تلك الأيام. فكان خليفة مروان على المدينة وقد اعتمر تلك الأيام. That was because Marwan himself was on Umrah on those days. Marwan went for Umrah. So he left Abu Hurairah as the Khalifa over Medina. So when Āishah died, radiyallahu anha, Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu was the one who observed Salatul Janaza on who? On Āishah. It went on and said, قال عروة ibn Zubayr دفنت عائشة ليلى. قال ابن زبير قال عروة ibn Zubayr دفنت عائشة ليلى. دفنت ليلى. Āishah was buried in the night. So that means it is lawful to bury our corpses in the night, especially if the corpse had some issues. I remember a brother who had an accident. He was buried. If we have cases where towards the evening to the night was when the person passed away, and it is possible for us to properly observe Salatul Janaza. It is possible for us to properly bath him and wrap him. It is also possible to properly bury him at the burial ground without troubles. It is lawful to observe the funeral rites and burial at Dafnu in the night. A number of people were buried in the night. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was buried in the night. Umar radiyallahu anhu was buried in the night. Uthman ibn Affan was buried in the night. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was buried in the night. We are now reading that Āishah radiyallahu anha was buried in the night. If there is need for it, and it is possible, if there is need for that urgency, and that it is possible for us to do it, then it is lawful for us to bury our corpses in the night. It also says, قال هشام ibn Urwa. Hisham ibn Urwa said, وأحمد ibn Hanbal, and Ahmad ibn Hanbal, وشباب, and Shabab. That word Shabab was a nickname for one of the scholars. His name was Khalifa ibn Khayyat. He was a great scholar of Tariq. Khalifa ibn Khayyat, he used to be given a nickname called Shabab. Khalifa ibn Khayyat. He has a huge, big book on Tariq. Khalifa ibn Khayyat. Hisham ibn Urwa, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Khalifa ibn Khayyat, وغيرهم, and others amongst the scholars. They say that Āishah توفيت سنة 57. توفيت عائشة سنة 57. They said that Āishah radiyallahu anha died on the 57th year of Hijrah. 57th 57 years after Hijrah, was when our mother Āishah, radiallahu anha, she died after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. وقال أبو عبيدة معمر ابن المثنى والواقدي وغيرهما سنة 58, but others say that it was in the 58th year of Hijrah. So there are two reports about the date when Aisha died. Some scholars say it was 57th year after Hijrah. Some say no, it was 58 years after Hijrah. So that was when she passed away. رضي الله عنها. قال الواقدي رحمه الله. Al-Waqidi, we had said it. That is Muhammad ibn Umar al-Waqidi, the weak reporter of hadith. He said, حدثنا Ibn Abi Sabra. We had said earlier also, Ibn Abi Sabra is also a weak reporter of hadith. So this narration is weak, but we are just reading it to us. It said, An Musa ibn Sabra and Salim ibn Sabalan. Salim ibn Sabalan was a tabi. He was a freed slave of Aisha. He did al-mukataba. You know what Allah mentioned in the Quran, فَكَاتِبُوا إِنْ عَلِمْتُمْ فِيهِمْ خَيْرًا. When a slave will want to buy himself freedom, he will do that in credit. But he will write a statement of guarantee that I will be working gradually to buy my freedom. So this person, Salim Sabalan, did that with Aisha, radiallahu anha. But before that, he was Aisha's slave. He said, أنها ماتت في الليلة السابعة عشرة من شهر رمضان بعد الوتر. Salim Sabalan reported with this weak isnad. It has come with a very weak isnad. We have Al-Waqidi and Ibn Abi Sabra in that isnad. But the report says that أنها ماتت في الليلة السابعة عشر, that Aisha died in the night of 17th of Ramadan بعد الوتر, after Salatul Witr. After Salatul Witr on the 17th of Ramadan, that was when she died. فَأُمِرَتْ أَن تُدْفَنَ مِنْ لَيْلَتِهَا. So she was ordered to be buried in that night. She died in the night after Salatul Witr. فَاجْتَمَعَ الْأَنصَارِ. So the people of Medina gathered. وَحَضَرُوا. They attended her funeral. فَلَمْ يُرَ لَيْلَةً أَكْثَرَ نَاسًا مِنْهَا. No night was known أَكْثَرَ نَاسًا مِنْهَا. When the people gathered and gathered and gathered, no night was known to have such a large gathering as the night when Aisha died, the night of the 17th of Ramadan, radiyallahu anha. Nazala ahlul awali. In fact, the people from the outskirts of Medina, they came in to Medina. Fadufinat bil Baqiyah. And Aisha radiallahu anha was buried at Al-Baqiyah radiallahu anha. Another report we have, that's on page 193 now, from Ismail ibn Abi Khalid and Qais Qala. This is from Qais now. This is from Qais. كانت تحدث نفسها. She used to talk to herself. She used to have it in her own mind. And to the fi baytiha, that she may be buried right in her room. She used to think like that. Don't forget, in her room, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was buried there. That they died. If a prophet of Allah sat down, he died. And that is in a grave. And it, close. Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was buried there, and Abu Bakr and Umar were buried there. So Aisha used to think before Umar's burial, radiallahu anha, that she would like to be buried in the same place where the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was buried. But when Umar radiallahu anhu requested for the place and she gave it up, then she did not bother to be buried in that same place. Radiallahu anha. So in this report, Ismail ibn Abi Khalid said, and Qais is reporting from Qais, who said, قالت Āishah to Aisha said, وكانت تحدث نفسها أن تدفن في بيتها. Aisha radiallahu anha used to have it in mind that she would be buried in her room. وقالت, she would say, إني أحدثت بعد رسول الله حدثا. When the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam passed away, أحدثت بعده حدثا, I did something that was strange. What was that? I went out to Siffin. We remember the Yawm Jamal. She went out. We also mentioned this in great details when herself and Talha and Zubair and others amongst the companions, they went out requesting and insisting that those who were responsible for the passing away of Uthman bin Affan should be held first, be arrested and taken to justice before any other thing should be done. And they're taking her along, hoping that when she addresses the people will listen. But the munafiqun and those who are leading, she regretted ever participating and going out. So she would say that because of that, idfanuni ma'a azwaji, don't bury me there, go and bury me with the wives of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, fadufinat bil Baqi. And then subsequently she became buried at Baqi. As a result of that, she became buried at al-Baqi radiyallahu anha. May Allah be pleased with her. This isnad is sahih, also contained in Musnad al-Imam Hakim. Aisha radiyallahu anha said, I did something I did not like to do after the Prophet. So when the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, I did something. And that was her going out on the day of Jamal. And Imām Adh-Dhahabi explains that Ta'ani bil Hadath, what she meant by something strange that she did, radiyallahu anha, Masīraha yawm al-Jamal, her travel on the day of al-Jamal, like we had said earlier, that going out was referred to as al-Jamal because she was riding on on a jamal, on a camel. فَإِنَّهَا نَدِمَتْ نَدَامَةً كُلِّيَّةً, because our mother Aisha, radiallahu anha, nadimat, she regretted nadamatan kulliyat, she was absolute and total in regret. Why did I go out? Watabat min dhalik, she turned in repentance to Allah for going out. Ala annaha ma fa'alat dhalika illa muta'awwilatan wasidatan lil khair, despite the fact that she did not do that except that she was relying upon some texts of the Quran, like when two Muslims وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ اقْتَتَلُوا فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمْ. When two parties amongst the Muslims are in a dispute, then we should seek a reconciliation amongst the two of them, or that when someone becomes killed, وَمَنْ قُتِلَ مَظْلُومًا فَقَدْ جَعَلْنَا لِوَلِيِّهِ سُلْطَانًا فَلَا تُسْرِفْ فِي الْقَتْلِ. So she wanted to insist that those who are responsible should at least firstly be apprehended, because Allah has given them the sultan. Allah has given them the right to insist, to choose what must be done because of the person who had been killed. So she was doing all of that, qasidatan lil khair, intending goodness. Ala annaha fa'alat dhalik. Aisha did all of that, muta'awwilatan qasidatan lil khair. She did it out of an understanding of some of the texts in the Quran and Hadith, qasidatan lil khair, while she was also intending good. Kama ijtahada Talhatu ibn Ubaydillah, just like with her, along with her was Talha ibn Ubaydillah in that juristic reasoning, was Zubayr ibn al-Awwam. Zubayr ibn Awwam, the husband of Asma bint Abi Bakr as-Siddiq, a jama'atun min al-kibar, and some group of elders, radiyallahu anil jami'. May Allah be pleased with all of them. These reports are about the last days of Aisha, how she died, how she was buried, the dates that she died, who observed Salatul Janaza on her. Bi'idhnillah, will continue from here in the next class. Bi'idhnillah. May Allah forgive her, radiyallahu anha, and grant her fasihah jannatihi. And the Prophet had assured her that she will be in Al-Jannah with him, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, wa radiyallahu an Āishah radiyallahu anha. I think it is good enough that we stop here to attend to the questions for today. About the Rahman.
Jazakumullah khairan ya Shaykh.
Ameen, ameen, ameen.
First question here is, we appreciate if Sheikh can repeat what he was trying to explain about the place of burial of the Prophet of Allah. The audio was lost there.
The Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam was buried in the room of Aisha. Don't forget that Aisha radiallahu anha had told us that kubida fi bayti. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam was taken away. The Prophet died in the room of Aisha. And the Prophet had told us sallallahu alayhi wasallam long before he died that al-anbiya wa rusul, the prophets of Allah and the messengers, yudfanuna haythu yamutun, they will be buried in the same place that they died. Every prophet of Allah, the spot where they died, that was where they will be buried. For every prophet of Allah, from the messengers of Allah, wherever they died, that was where they will be buried. So when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam died in the room of Aisha, that was the ground of where she was buried, where he was buried sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet was buried in the room where he died. He died in the room of Aisha. So he was buried there alayhi salatu wasalam. And Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was always with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam wherever he wanted. So he wanted to be buried together with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. was why he was buried in the same place with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and likewise Umar. At that time, that place was the room of Āishah. It was not part of the masjid at all. And up till now, it's not part of the masjid. That's why you see it carved outside. Expansions in the masjid got there. So they built a wall to cut it off from the masjid. That place was a room of Āishah, radiyallahu anha, where the Prophet died and where he was buried. And Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and Umar, who were always with him, were also buried together with the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. I hope that that is clear, inshallah.
Another question reads, my question is, after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was buried in the room of our mother Āishah, where was our mother staying after the burial? Did she move to another room?
I know what gave birth to this question is fear. In our own times now, people are afraid. We don't have any reports that she moved to another room. I have not come across any learned person saying that Āishah left that room. I have not seen anybody saying that she left to another room. If she had left to another room, that second room would have become her room again. And she is not known to have any other room except this room where the Prophet was buried. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. No, it is not known that she went to any other place except this place where the Prophet was buried. So it was a part of her room. The Prophet was there and she was there. She slept there, woke up there. Radiyallahu anha. Because this is a special case. Her husband is not like your own husband. Her husband is Rasulu Rabbil Alamin. The ruling of his burial is different from the ruling of the burials of other people. Their own ruling is that they are buried in the place where they died. So if a prophet of Allah died anywhere, that place, that spot where he was, that is where he will be buried. All the messengers of Allah were buried on the spots where they died. They were not moved to any other part of the earth called a burial ground. Because Allah would take them away in the place He wants you to put them back in the ground. So Aisha's husband was that kind of a man, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, al-Rasul. So the Rasul was buried in the place where he died. So Aisha remained there. She does not have anywhere to run to. She didn't have any room, and she didn't have any reason to be afraid. Radiallahu, her room. Radiallahu anha. She lived there. I don't know anybody saying that she left. And if she had left, it would have been known, it would have been popular. People would have been saying it. The second room too would have been mentioned to be Aisha's second room. And I don't ever have come across anybody saying that Aisha had a second room. Radiallahu anha. Because even when Abu Bakr as-Siddiq died, he was buried in the same place. And when Umar died, Umar had to ask for permission to be buried in Aisha's room. Don't forget that Abu Bakr is the father of Āishah. Umar was not the father of Āishah. So Umar had to say, please, if I die, Umar was stabbed, radiallahu anhu. So shortly before he passed away, he asked for the permission. A doctor came, the hadith is in Sahih al-Bukhari, a doctor came and attended to Umar and told Umar that he gave Umar some medicines. When Umar took the medicine, it gushed out from his intestines because of the stab that he was suffering from. So it was like he knew that this was the end of it. So at that he requested Aisha, please let me be buried together with my companions, Abu Bakr and the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam. And Aisha allowed him, even though she had wanted to be buried there. So when Umar became buried there, radiyallahu anhu, there was no need for her to be buried. Then she gave another reason. I did something I felt, let me be buried with the rest of the wives of the Prophet. I went out on the day of Ghazwatul Jamal. Radiyallahu anha wa ardaha. I hope that this is clear about bro.
Salawatullah alaykum ya Shaykh.
Another one reads, please, I just want to know if our mother Āishah was buried that night she died.
Yes, she was buried on the night that she died. She died after Witr, on the night of the 17th of Ramadan. فَدُفِنَتْ Layla. She was buried that same night. Radiallahu anha. And everybody, people started gathering. Āishah had died. Āishah had died. Radiallahu. How do you think the gathering would be? The wife of the Prophet Muhammad, the most beloved of his wife, died. At that time, Salama was alive. Radiallahu anha. So there were still very eminent people alive. Abu Huraira was alive. Abu Huraira observed the Salatul Janaza over her. So she was buried that same night. Radiallahu anha. I mean, can we have one more question?
No, we are Shepherd.
Or we should stop it here?
Let us make this the last one, sir.
Okay, bismillah.
The question says, please, sir, is it the right hand we should use to wash our feet during ablution or the left hand?
The left hand, the one with which we rub is the left. The one with which we pour the water is the right. Pour the water with the right and rub with the left. Pour the water with the right. Rub with the left. Allahu Akbar. Someone is asking, is it lawful to bury in the night? We have explained that it is lawful to bury in the night. It is lawful to bury in the night. A sister is asking about the dream. I'm sorry, you can, if you message me, inshallah, I can try to provide an explanation, inshallah. We can call it today. You can call it today about the
نعم جزاكم الله خيرا يا شيخ.
آمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.